Hello and welcome back to my channel. For today's video we're going to be playing every major version of the Soviet heavy tank series, the IS, or as it's known in Russia, the Joseph Stalin tanks. Now before we get further into the video, I do just want to say that I have a Discord server, so if you're interested in what's going on behind the scenes or just want to have someone to play with or chat with, please join it, link in the description below. For the first tank we are going to be playing, of course, the first one, the IS-1 on Maginot Line. The IS-1 sits at a battle rating of 5.7 and it's armed with a 85mm cannon. It has a top speed of 37 km per hour forward and 14 km backwards, so you are quite mobile for a heavy tank. Now the IS-1 sits at battle rating 5.7 and is the first IS tank you're gonna be able to play. Now, is it even good at 5.7? Should you get this tank? Well, I do think you should get it. It is not super good, but I think it's quite a decent heavy tank for what you're getting. You're getting a pretty good gun, high muzzle velocity, so you're gonna be able to snipe with it, and decent penetration and high explosive fillers. It sits at 5.7 though, so most of the times you are gonna get up tier to 6.7 and 6.3, where it can struggle quite a bit. The armor is not very good on this thing, especially in 6.7. Most of the tanks you're gonna come across are going to be able to kill you without any major issues. So if you're in an up tier, that is something you're gonna have to be wary of. Now this is true for all IS tanks in the game. In the up tiers, you are always going to be facing tanks that can penetrate you, and this is also true for basically every heavy tank in the game. When you get to higher tiers such as the IS-3, IS-6, IS-7 and IS-4, you're also going to be coming across heat runs, which basically negates every aspect of your armor. But at 5.7 you're not going to be able to base heat all that much. So the tank is good, it's very good in a down tier, although you're not facing a tank that is under you very often, but when you do, it's a blast, and it does work in up tiers. In this game I was up tier a lot, so it does still work, but you're gonna have to be playing this a bit more carefully the higher tiers you go. After having captured the Bravo point and cleared our way all up to this road, we're going to start engaging this American tank destroyer. After a few unsuccessful shots, we finally managed to get rid of him and we can start taking space. Now, having reached the final position and the position I wanted to get to all along, we can start engaging enemies as they leave the spawn from both sides. We're also covered pretty good from here, and we can even contest people going towards all the capture zones. So this is a very effective zone, and this is kind of the problem with Maginot Line. It always devolves into some sort of spawn camping. Now we just start engaging here, but I noticed that there is a Sherman to our right, and he is pretty close and dangerous, so I wanted to get rid of him, but I felt like I wanted to take one last shot at this M6 before he kinda disappears. Fortunately, the shot does nothing and we swing our attention to the right. Getting pretty lucky here, since the Sherman whiffed the shot, we take him out as well. Now we're just going to finish off the M6 we couldn't before. Here we take out a American tank destroyer. This is very dangerous as it can easily kill us, so This is an important target to kill. Now, when you are playing these tanks that have quite a long reload, and especially heavy tanks, it's all about target prioritization. If you're facing, for example, a normal medium tank who can penetrate you versus a tank destroyer that definitely can penetrate you, you always want to go for the tank destroyer. You always want to eliminate the tank or thing that can most easily kill you. Here is a good example coming up. We have a Sherman and a M36. Now, both of them can kill me, but it's gonna be much harder for the Sherman to kill me. So I decided to take out the biggest threat first, which is the tank destroyer. With that high explosive round, we have one high explosive round left, and I tried to at least attract this man before I need to reload. With no ammo left, this is basically the end of the first game for us. Taking first place with 11 kills, earning total of 7,000 research points and 72,000 silver lines. For the next game, we are on the map Eastern Europe in the new IS-2 mod 1944. This is the IS-2, sitting at a battle rating of 6.7 in Soviet victory. The IS-2 is armed with a devastating 122mm main gun and a heavy MG as air defense and as a machine gun which you can use to kill lightly armored targets. Now the IS-2, it has a much longer reload than the IS-1, but it also has much better armor, so you can actually use your armor much more effectively even in a up tier. It is still not something you should rely on, but it's more reliable than the IS-1. The speed is in theory the same, but since the IS-2 is a lot heavier, you're not going to be able to reach that top 37 km/h as quickly as in the IS-1. But it is still decently mobile for a heavy tank. So you're still going to be able to reach 37 km/h forward and 14 in reverse. Now with the IS-1 up through the IS-7, meaning IS-2, IS-3, IS-4, IS-6 and finally IS-7, I would recommend you to make a keybind so you can control your heavy MG on top by itself. This is going to help you when shooting down planes or when light armored targets come to your side, as you can swing around the machine gun much quicker than the actual turret, since most of these tanks have very long turret rotation speeds. But now with the IS-2 armed with a 122, it's going to play a bit differently from the IS-1 if you're used to that. Since you have a much higher caliber weapon, the reload speed is also going to be exponentially longer. So you're going to have to be careful with the shots you fire, since you're gonna be standing and reloading for quite some time. So this is also something you're just gonna have to get used to while playing all of these Soviet heavy tanks, that the reload is going to be quite long. After using a backup to spawn in again, we're going to take up position on the right side of the map again, and we're going to start getting some shots onto enemy tanks closing in on the point. Keeping up the pressure on the tanks trying to capture the charge point. With this position I'm currently in, I'm basically able to cut off most of the reinforcements coming to Charlie from the enemy team. This is a very good spot for the IS-2. It's not the best, since if there's a lot of enemies coming, the reload will make it difficult, but you're going to be able to basically one-shot everything with your round being able to carry a lot of high explosive filler. So actually killing stuff and penetrating stuff is not gonna be an issue for this tank. As you can see, we're able to go through quite sharp angles as well on enemy heavy tanks. A bit closer in the fighting now, we're currently in the city and we're going to try to support this Japanese anti-air gun. Unfortunately he does go down, but we are able to avenge him. With the nuclear siren blaring, that means the end of the game is closing in. Continuing to put pressure on the enemies on the Charlie is what we're going to do until the game ends. Earning a total of 9,000 research points and 70,000 silver lines. For the next game, we are on the map Normandy in the IS-3. The IS-3 sitting at a battery rating of 7.3, the Russian Grand Factory coming after the IS-2. Now the IS-3 is a really mediocre, I would say mid-heavy tank, I would say. It has a good gun, same gun you find on the IS-2 but with a improved shell this time. You have much better armor though when it comes to conventional rounds. If you're facing APDS and if you're facing heat and chemical rounds, your armor does nothing. And the problem is that this thing sits at battery rating 7.3, which means you're gonna be up tier to 7.7 and even higher, and that means you're facing a lot of heat slingers. So in a down tier, when you're facing things that cannot fire heat, you are disgusting. You can basically kill anything and you can't be killed. But when you are in a up tier, you will still be able to kill stuff, but it's gonna be harder. But everything can basically kill you, since they have heat, ATGMs and APDS and stuff like that. So that is the IS-3 in a nutshell basically. In a down tier, fantastic. In an up tier, pain. Looking at the mobility part, you are able to go up to 40 kilometers forwards and 50 kilometers backwards. Now, you are a lot heavier than for say the IS-2 and IS-1, so the mobility is going to feel very similar to those tanks. Even if you in theory can go much quicker than them, you're not gonna feel it too much. It's basically gonna be the same speed. Now we're just going to be playing on this monument peeking out when we reload. Since there are a lot of tanks down this road, we are going to have to be careful since some tanks with the right shell that can actually go through the small cheek we have. But most of them cannot. So that is what we're going to do now. And here I just felt like I wasn't really doing much anymore. We've cleared most of the tanks there, and we have a lot of friendlies looking down that road, so I didn't feel like I would be any helpful. So I decided to go down and capture Alpha. On our way back up to the city, we are attacked by a T-26E5. Luckily, he only catches our engine and the track, and I don't think he had a shot on our main compartment, so we are just going to be able to repair him. After having repaired, we just went along the seawall and we popped up here, and we're going to start eliminating every enemy we can come across. Since we're pretty close to the enemy spawn, we are going to have to be careful so that any enemy doesn't just spawn and rush us though. With that heavy tank now taken care of, we are free to just move up along this field to start cleaning up before the battle ends. with 10 kills, we take first place in the team, earning a total of 8,000 research points and 78,000 silver lions. For the next game, we are in the premium IS-6. We're on the map Abandoned Factory again. Now, the IS-6 is still armed with the 122 that was first found on the IS-2, but with the same ammunition that the IS-3 got access to, so a better round than the IS-2. What about the mobility? The mobility is really good for this heavy tank, 44 km per hour forward and 17 in the reverse. The IS-6 sitting at battery rating 7.7 is going to struggle a lot often. Since you're sitting at 7.7, you're going to be facing a lot of chemical and sub-caliber rounds, which, not too surprising, will absolute value. But if you do get that down turn, you're going to be very good. The armor is pretty decent. As I said before, if you're facing chemical rounds, pretty much useless. But if you're facing conventional rounds and some early sub-caliber rounds, you're gonna do absolutely fine. For just normal conventional rounds, the hull is pretty much impenetrable. You're not gonna be able to pen the IS-6 hull at least. The turret cheeks are the weak spot, however, so if you're trying to kill an IS-6 with normal conventional ammunition, go for the turret cheeks. But it can still defeat some early heat and APDS rounds if you're lucky. Now, as I said earlier, the IS-6 is a premium tank. Sitting at rank 5 of the Russian ground tech tree, you're gonna be able to research rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now, is this a tank you should buy even? I do think there are better options, however. The IS-6, as I said earlier, really struggles with its current battery rating. This used to be at a much lower battery rating and it would have been absolutely dominant. But nowadays, sitting at 7.7, it does struggle quite a bit. Even though you do sometimes get these juicy downturns, that's not gonna be normal. You are probably often gonna be up here to 8.3, 8.0, 8.7, and that is not a good place for the IS-6. And as I said earlier, there are better options for sure when riding the Soviet tech tree. Personally, I would recommend T-55 AM1, but the choice is yours to make. I'm not saying the IS-6 is a bad option, but I do think there are better ones. Now here, I absolutely went from this PDV 501. I was really wanting to get this shot though, since as you can see, he does have heat and he's going to be able to penetrate us. Unfortunately, we do get saved by a friendly, however. After this, I decided to make my way over to Bravo to clear out any enemies and then take it for our team. Just as we take the point, we are attacked by a AMX 13 and 19. And of course, it's going to be firing heat. And here you can see the big downside of these sort of heavy tanks, especially from IS-3 and upwards. You're playing at pretty high BRs and you're facing opponents that can very easily kill you. And you kind of negate your biggest upside, your armor. And that is something that makes these tanks pretty hard to be played effectively in hunters. We're just going to try our best to survive here. and after we clear the AMX-39, we're going to attack a charioteer. And the charioteer is someone who can fire APS. He does get our track just as we are in the process of shooting our main gun, and because of that we whiff on him, and our reload is not going to allow us to reload in time, so he does get us. With 7 kills, we earned a total of 13,800 research points and 143,000 silver lions. Now, for the last game, we are on the map Carpathians in the IS-4M. Now, this is the last IS tank in the Soviet tech tree. Unfortunately, I don't have the IS-7. I'm not rich enough or willing to buy the IS-7, and I'm not gadget partner, so unfortunately you won't be able to see IS-7 gameplay today. Now the IS-4M sitting at a battery rating of 7.7, the same battery rating IS-6 sits at. So that means you're going to be facing the same chemical rounds, the same subcaliber rounds, so most of the time your armor is not going to do much to save you. Now looking at the armament and mobility, you're going to reach 43 kilometers per hour forward and 10 kilometers backwards. The gun is the same as the IS-3, the 122 D25T cannon with the exact same ammunition. Now the IS-4 plays a bit differently to IS-6. IS-6 is more of a mobile tank, so you're gonna be able to reach a bit quicker to your positions, while IS-4 is more just tank shots and return fire. Now, in the position I am in now, we are unfortunately just going to be able to shoot into the enemy spawn. My original plan was to get to this position to contest the capture point, but my team has just taken the capture point like that. But there are still enemies who can attack. This Centurion or Shot Cal, the Israeli version, is still up there, so we're going to quickly reload and get right through his turret. Now we're just going to finish off the two British tanks leaving that spawn that we were firing at in the beginning. Leaving that spot and going up to the hill, because the hill is much more important to control on this map, and I don't want it to fall into enemy hands. After the AML, we're going to switch positions up until with a better vantage point and start engaging. But after the AMX-50 goes down, the alpha point is being captured by the enemy team, so we're going to start heading back to alpha. On our second life, we see this BTR firing up on the hill to our right. So we know that a shot is up on that ledge over there. So we're going to have to be careful when advancing. We don't know if there are any tanks on Alpha, but we know there are tanks up on the hill that we were previously. So we're going to have to advance carefully here to not get killed.
Мы под обстрелом, уходим! Попали! Красный выстрел! Заряди!
Just going to pop smoke to not get shot from the hill as we push this shot. After the shot is eliminated, we're going to go up on Alpha to retake it.
Отлично! Трёх отцовый! Мы под обстрелом!
With Alpha now captured, we're going to go into this dip here for the rest of the game to defend Alpha and still be able to contest the hill.
Прямое попадание! Учись, сука, спеши! Приятно было познакомиться.
Now we're going to have to try and defend Alpha from this position and hold on for as long as possible to allow time for our teammates to attack from the other side as well.
Заряди!
With 10 kills, we take first place in the team, earning a total of 13,000 research points and 104,000 silver lights. With that, the video is coming to an end. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe, and stay tuned as there will be more content to come about War Thunder in the near future. Until next time, take care.